Good evening, everybody. Wanted to make a quick video today and just talk about a few things. I made a short earlier this week about investing in the S&P 500 over 10 years versus Bitcoin. And basically the result of that is if you did $100 a month over 10 years, you would have 10x your money with Bitcoin and only doubled your money with the S&P 500 index. And I take that very personally because I invested over the last 10-year horizon and thought I was doing something smart with my money and being safe, conservative, but also, investing in growth, right? And so I did small increments of, paycheck to paycheck increments of investing in a 401k, buying S&P 500 index funds, getting a match, all that type of thing for the last decade. And while it's built up some amount of money, it's not nearly enough to do anything significant with in life. And the promise is that now that I have this little, ember burning, that in 30 to 40 years from now, then it will be significant and pay my medical bills as I'm in a hospice situation, because I've been eating fiat food my entire life. So I could scrimp away some pennies into the 401k. And so it's just angered me because over the last decade, I could have been buying Bitcoin. And had I done that, I would have 10x my money, almost been to a point now where I probably would have been able to retire at a very, very young age. And so, I could sit here and toil about it and get angry about it, or I could do something about it. And I have. And that's, over the last several years, I've grown deeper and deeper into Bitcoin. I've learned how it works, how to function with it, how to use it securely, safely, all those types of things. And really what I want to do in this video is talk to the other men out there, young men especially, and women, but mostly the men, because that's who I'm trying to mentor here, is that the advice you're getting from your peers, your immediate peers, is probably complete trash. The normal person has a lot of debt. They don't have any savings. They don't own any assets. They have no flexibility, no liquidity, anything. They're living paycheck to paycheck. And they're going to be there at your employer saying, hey, you should buy the Target 8 fund in your 401k and just sit on it for 30 years and do that. And as long as you do that, you'll be all right. And, that'll come from somebody that's 65 years old, still working, going into the office. So how is it not working for them yet? Oh, they're still nervous at that age that it's not going to be enough for them to live, the remaining years of their life. And that's an absolute disgrace. People working an entire lifetime and trying to do the right thing and ending up with essentially not enough to cover their bills to live just a meager retirement. It's just an absolute, it's a tragedy. And the whole reason behind it is that's being stolen from you through inflation, taxation, and everything else. And so we can choose to turn a blind eye to it and be naive about it, or we can wake up and realize there's a better world out there, and that's the world of Bitcoin, and we can start allocating towards that. And so that's what, the next decade of my life is going to look like. Unfortunately, I'll be, another decade older. My kids will be grown up more than they are now. They won't just be kids. They'll be, growing a little bit and have interests and hobbies and friends and things like that. So, I feel a little jaded that I didn't get in on it sooner, but now I know the truth, and now I'm holding on to the truth with the death grip. And I highly encourage you to do the same. So if I was in my early 20s, starting out in the working world now, trying to navigate this planet the way that it's set up now, I would completely ignore the 401k option at your your employer. Even if they were, offer a generous match, whatever, completely ignore that. If you have any excess, and you should be working to get as much excess as possible in your income after you pay whatever bills you're obligated to pay, all of that should be funneled into Bitcoin for long-term savings. A disadvantage over 401k is you're limited in what you can invest in. You can't touch that money without penalty for years and years and years, decades. And you're going to need liquidity before that to provide the life that you want for your future wife, your kids, all these different things. So There's nothing better to do that with than Bitcoin. It grows faster, it's stronger, it's better. You can get to it anytime you need it, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So completely ignore your employer's 401k. Completely ignore that they give a 3% match if you do 6%, or whatever stupid scheme they have, and take your excess from your monthly income and put that into Bitcoin, and do that consistently. And over your first decade of working, if you do that and have some excess, whether it's $50 a month, $100 a month, whatever you can get to, it's going to be different for everybody. You will see a reward from that your first decade of work. Whereas if you do the same thing into a 401k, you're going to see something, but it's not going to be enough. Okay. It's really not. And I can tell you that speaking from experience. If I look at compound annual growth charts of what I could have done with Bitcoin and what I would have done and what I did actually do with the 401k has left me with something that I can't do much with. I can't do anything with it today. In 30 years from now, will it grow? Yes. But is it going to be enough to cover my living expenses? Probably not. Bitcoin, I would have 10x my money over the last decade and probably had enough to do an early retirement now. Okay. And I'm not some ancient old man. So that's a miracle, but that's how money works for you, not against you. So, start, if you're young, take whatever you can, dollar cost average into Bitcoin on an exchange. When you get a decent chunk in the exchange, up to 0.01 Bitcoin or something like that, 1,000,000 sats, pop it over to your cold storage and hold on to it and save that save that Bitcoin for another day. Keep doing that and just stacking sats over and over and over consistently over time. And in your first decade of work, you're going to have something significant to build a life out of it. You're going to be able to afford a house. You're going to be able to afford a family. You're going to be able to afford to travel and do the things you want to do. And if you don't do that, then you're going to have just a life of mediocrity, even if you think you're ahead of the game, because I thought I was. When I was young, I was fortunate enough to understand that consumer debt was a bad thing. So I got out of debt. My wife and I got out of debt, cleared everything, student loans, cars, all the dumb things we wasted money on. We never got into credit cards or anything bad like that, but we lived very frugally. We still had fun and enjoyed sometimes some travel and things like that, but we always made sure we had excess beyond what we were consuming, and we saved and invest that money in different things. And we realized that even by saying no to so many things, paying our taxes, investing and saving, it wasn't providing us the life that we wanted. And we were just giving and giving and pouring into this life and just wondering what was the reward for all of this. In 30 years, maybe we would know if we're still even alive by then, right? And it's just completely unacceptable. It's not the life that I would choose for myself. It's not the life I would recommend for you or your family either. So take a leap of faith and do something different. Worst case, if you're in your early 20s and you do this for 3 or 4 years and you don't really like it, you think it's too risky or whatever, you can always sell and then go back to the stock market. 3 or 4 years in your 20s is nothing. They try to pressure you and say this is the most important investing years of your life, because you need to get in early so that it can grow for 40 years and then you'll have something significant. With Bitcoin, you could get in whenever you get in, and within a couple cycles, you're doing significantly better, which is 4 to 8 years. To get to a couple cycles would be 8 years, right? And you're upgraded your lifestyle significantly, and you can pull that money and use it liquid as soon as you need it. So some things to think about. Your colleagues, your friends probably aren't going to give you this type of advice. They're going to say, hey, buy this stock, get into 401ks and just do a target date fund, set in, forget it. You won't even miss the money. And then you'll be pleasantly surprised at the end of the rainbow, when you're old and gray. And I think that's ridiculous. I don't think anybody should do that. You should take control of your own money, take a leap of faith, and start living your life as soon as possible. So work hard, don't quit your job. You got to have some sort of income. So work hard, make as much as you can, keep your expenses low, save the excess in cold storage Bitcoin, hold on to it as long as you can for another day. And when the time is right, you will know what you should spend that money on. You will know when it's right to buy a house for your family and to get married and how much to spend on a wedding. Bitcoin forces you to become more disciplined with your money because it becomes more valuable over time. So you value it more yourself over time versus fiat, which basically becomes less and less valuable day after day after day. And it basically, gives you the incentive to throw it away or spend it on whatever you can just to get your value out of it while it still holds something to it. So anyway, that's my rant to the young men out there struggling. I'm really tired of seeing a lot of black pill content on YouTube related to the cost of living crisis and the job market and all these different things. It is tough out there. It really is. This economy is pretty screwed up, but we don't need to black pill, be depressed, be upset and angry about it. What we need to do is put in action every day. Buy Bitcoin, hold it, be patient, take care of your family, take care of your kids, take care of yourself and your health. You have to know that if you're choosing to own and hold Bitcoin long term and continuing to stack it, that there is going to be a better tomorrow for you, and you need to prepare yourself to be in a position to handle that responsibility maturely and reasonably, because Bitcoin's going to turn around the world on you and really put you in the arena of who are you going to be? If most people were handed $100 million today, let's just say 100 million in fiat, they wouldn't know what to do with it. They would waste it. They would squander it on material things, whatever. And they would probably be gone from them within a handful of years. So don't let that happen to you. Figure out who you want to be. Take care of yourself. Take care of your body so that you will be there in the future and you will be prepared to assume that level of wealth and deploy it in a productive manner for you and your family. Otherwise, you're going to end up in the same fiat trap where you think you need all these material items, you need a bigger house, a bigger whatever. Instead, focus on building something real for you and your family and something long term that will give them real value in the future. Anyway, that's my rant for today. I just want to get some Bitcoin signal out there. Don't black pill. You should orange pill and enjoy your life. And there is a bright future ahead of us. So I'll see you all in the next one.